Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you all. Today is Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to post this today. I just don't know. You might get this tomorrow on the 26th. But if you are a returning subscriber, thank you. You're a real one. If you're new to the channel, here we like to discuss true crime stories, also strange and spooky stories. Sometimes I do vlogs. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Before we get into today's story, I just want to say, if you got a good Christmas gift, hit that like button. That's all I wanted to say. If you actually gave a good Christmas gift, hit that subscribe button. Like and subscribe. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Helps with the algorithm. All right, let's get into it. I'm a scary movie fanatic. I love them. Can't get enough of them. But some of them are kind of like dumb now. They're kind of predictable, except for one. Well, two. Insidious is one of them. And then The Conjuring. I love The Conjuring. Legit scares. It really gets me going. It's one of those type of films. They're very well made, if I do say so myself. Today we are going to be discussing the case of the Glatzel family, aka Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Fun fact, this is the first case in American history, might even be the world, I don't know, but I know in America that the defense used demonic possession as the defense. So let's see what happens. The Glatzel family consisted of Carl Sr., Judy, the mother, Debbie, David, and Carl Jr. They all had a pretty much ordinary life growing up until they moved to Connecticut. Now, once they moved to Connecticut into their brand new house, David, one of the sons, was wandering around, and then he would say that he met the spirit of an old man. He said that the old man did not approve of them living in the house and warned them that if they did not move, then bad things were going to happen. Now, quite naturally, David went to go tell his mother and father, and they did not believe him. This is how every scary movie starts. Like, why don't parents just believe if my kid came to me and was like, hey, I just saw a ghost man floating in the hallway. It was like, y'all need to leave or I'm killing everybody. Like, I'm gone. Well, hold on. Are you serious? Son, you serious? Because if you lying, you can get a whooping. You serious? All right. Pack that suitcase back up. We gotta go. Of course they didn't move. So some time goes by and then David starts getting sick. And then he starts having conversations with this ghostly man. This is what his parents would say, what they would see from David. Around the same time, David started speaking in different tones and different inflections in his voice. And then he also started speaking in fluent Latin. Now, David's only like 8 years old, maybe 9 around this time. So now his parents are like, well, there might be some truth to this. He's walking around sounding like he's got smoker's lung and now he's speaking a whole nother language. Come on, man. Why do you need so many red flags in order to move? Later on, David would start having seizures and then he would wake up to having these strange bruises and markings on his body that he couldn't explain. He later came out and said that those markings and those bruises, he could explain them. He got them while he was having a nightmare of the Beast Man. So now he started speaking through groans and hisses. This is how he would communicate. And then he starts reading just passages, just randomly. He would just start reading passages from the Bible. Then he starts reciting quotes from a book by John Milton called Paradise Lost. Now I had to look this up because I've never heard of this book before. This book, Paradise Lost, tells the downfall of mankind. Pretty much the story of Adam and Eve. Maybe you've heard of them. If you haven't, you should get from under that rock and go out into the world and say a prayer. If you haven't heard of Adam and Eve, they're the first people on earth, supposedly. Now, David would quote these passages from the Bible and from Paradise Lost just at random times. Dinner, bedtime, you going out to pick up some apples from the store, maybe a baseball game. Who knows? He's just reciting these quotes. Now the parents and the family, everyone's believing that David might be possessed. He has something going on that we really can't explain. Now, David's mother would describe the creature as having big black eyes, thin face with animal features, jagged teeth, pointy ears, horns, and hooves. That's pretty much the devil. I don't know why she just didn't say the devil. And then how does she know? Because she didn't see it. So How do you know what this thing looks like? You just made this up? This is what you think it looks like? Because you didn't see it. Something fishy's going on here. Now, the family would go to local priests and preachers, and they begged for an exorcism to be done on David. But at this point, an exorcism hadn't been done in decades, probably even longer than that. So they were all just rejecting their plea. No, we can't do it. This is not really for us. Your son's not possessed. He might need medical attention. So with all this rejection, this led the family to Ed and Lorraine Warren, aka the oldest superheroes ever. I love Ed and Lorraine Warren because they just out here. People are calling them fraud, quacks, fakes. They don't care, man. They out here making these movies, collecting them checks. Well, not Ed, because Ed died, but Lorraine is still out here, still talking that demon talk is what I'm trying to say. Once they met, Ed quickly confirmed that yes, David was possessed, but not by one demon. Oh, no. We got 40. David has 40 demons trying to take over his body. They're each trying to take over at once. With having the Warrens as backup, the Warrens were able to speak to different churches, and then they were able to have an exorcism performed on David. They performed 3. The first 2 didn't work, and then that third one finally took the cake. It finally worked. I don't know why I just made that so difficult. It finally worked. Now, during that third exorcism, this is where Arne, or maybe it's Arne, I don't really know. Some people say Arne, some people say Arne. I'm just gonna say Arne Johnson. This is where Arne Johnson comes in. Now, Arne was already technically in the picture because Arne was dating Debbie, the oldest sister. Now, Arne was asked by the Glatzel parents to come and pretty much comfort David while he was having these night terrors. This was before the exorcism even happened. So Arne was there during the nighttime for David's nightmares, and he was pretty much there to comfort him. Now, during the third exorcism, Arne says that if the demons needed a body, that they should leave David alone and then take his body over just to get out of David, which was a horrible thing to do. If you see this little boy going through something, why would you say, hey, leave him alone, whatever you're doing to him, put it in me? Like, that's not, why would you do that? I would never do that. I love a few people on this earth, but I would never do that. It's not happening. So boom, David's clear. David, he's good. No more demons or anything. So some time goes by. Arne and Debbie move into their own place, and then things start happening to Arne. More specifically, the same thing that was happening to David is now happening to Arne. Debbie said that Arne would fall into a trance, and then he would start growling and say that he saw the beast, and then when she would bring it up later on, he would have no memory of his actions. Ed and Lorraine ended up like pretty much blaming Arne, saying like this is your fault, because during an exorcism, these are their words, during an exorcism, this is when you're the most vulnerable. So with him doing that, you just set yourself up for failure. 4 months prior to Arne's arrest, Lorraine Warren would tell the police that she felt that there was a very strong and dark presence around Arne, and that she feared for anyone who was around them at the time. She told the police that they should keep a very watchful eye on Debbie and Arne. I don't know why I said that so slow. On February 16th, Debbie, she worked for a dog groomer, and she was going into work. Now Arne, he worked as well, not with her, but on his own job. So he just called out that day and decided just to go to work with Debbie. One of Debbie's sister also joined Arne and Debbie at her job, which you could do that. You could just bring people to work with you. It's a small town, so I guess it was okay. Now, seeing everyone there, the owner of the shop, his name was Alan. So Alan just saw everyone there. Everyone's having a good time. So he offered to buy everyone lunch. During lunch, Alan starts drinking a bit excessive. And then Debbie doesn't like how he's acting around her cousin, who's only 9 years old. So she opts to leave early for the day. So when they're heading out, Alan doesn't want anyone to leave. So he grabs the 9-year-old's hand. And once this happened, Arne loses it. Debbie said that Arne was just infuriated that Alan had grabbed the cousin's hand, and that he started growling at Alan. And then before Alan could even react, Arne ran up with his own pocket knife and stabbed Alan 5 different times. Alan would later on be pronounced dead a few hours later. Debbie would say that after Arne stabbed Alan, that he was still in a daze and he kind of just wandered off into the woods, and he didn't come back until a few hours later. But then he would say that he didn't recall anything. He was arrested immediately, but he would say that he didn't recall the events that happened. Even years later, Arne still says that he does not remember that event taking place. He doesn't remember stabbing Alan. In court, the Warrens would speak on behalf of Arne, and they said that he wasn't in control of his own body, that he was possessed by the demon that was taken out of David's body. The judge really wasn't trying to hear this, so he rejected the defense of demonic possession due to lack of evidence, pretty much. So the newspapers, they had just a field day with this, and they deemed this case the demon murder trials or the devil made me do it trials. The trial began October 28th, 1981, and in order to keep Arne out of jail, they had to go with a self-defense plea now, since they couldn't use the demonic possession plea. Now the jury, since the judge struck off the demonic possession plea, the jury they weren't able to use that while they were coming up with their verdict, which is strange. I always like, once you hear, if you're a part of the jury, right, and you hear something, how do you unhear it? Like if I hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, that's subconsciously that's gonna be in your mind. I know people say like on TV shows, they're like, oh, I want the jury to strike that from the last witness statement. And I'm like, but yeah, I just heard it. I heard him say that, so I can't just not unhear it. So it's in there. I'm gonna try not to use it, but it's there, Judge. I don't know what you want me to say, Your Honor. What do you want me to do? At the end of the trial, Arne was found not guilty for murder, but guilty on first-degree manslaughter. Arne served 5 years in jail, and then as soon as he got out, he immediately married Debbie. They stayed together for that long 5 years, so then they just got married when he was out. Shout out to her, man. She's a writer. I mean, who else is gonna, man or woman, who's gonna wait for? Well, there are some people. Me, I don't know, man. It depends on what you went in there for. If like somebody was attacking me and then you shot him and then you had 5 years, I'm waiting for you. But if you in Walmart still stealing like Twinkies and king size bags of Doritos, you on your own. I'll come visit you, but I don't know, man. I'm not making any promises. You did that to yourself. In 2007, David, who was possessed, and then Carl Jr., the younger brother, they pressed charges on Lorraine Warren because they said that she was profiting off of pretty much their family's experience without giving them any type of money or without permission, pretty much. Carl and David would also say that there was never really any proof that David was demonically possessed. Carl would say that his brother David was suffering from a mental illness, and that when the Warrens caught word of it, that they just showed up to their doorstep out of the blue and pressed the family to go to the press and say that it was demonic possession in order to gain fame and fortune from all of the press that they would receive over this story. The Warrens would later come out with a book called The Devil in Connecticut. So I don't know, maybe they were trying to make $1 off of it. Maybe it was true, or maybe some of it was true and some of it was fabricated. Who knows? But Debbie and Arne would also come out and say that the story was 100% true, like the demonic possession was 100% true, and that Carl and David were trying to discredit the Warrens, which is weird if you think about it, because if because Debbie could probably say that it's true just so people won't think she's married to a murderer. You know what I'm saying? So if I had any skin in the game, I'd be like, yes. If I was Debbie, I would say, yes, this was true. My husband, he's not a murderer, but he was possessed by a demon that came from my little brother. So it makes it kind of eases the blow when people read the story. I'm more inclined to believe Arne than Debbie, because Debbie really, she was there, but she really didn't know if any possession was going on. Now David, who was initially possessed in the beginning, he has a little more say so. So he's saying it didn't happen, and then Arne's saying that it did happen. I don't know. I couldn't find anything on what the parents said. Not a word. They kept their mouth shut. And that is the case of the Glatzel family, or the demonic murder trials or the devil made me do it trials, or the devil in Connecticut. My 2 cents, I don't know who's lying and who's telling the truth, but I do know this. Ed and Lorraine Warren made some money off this. They made some dollars off of books and movies, and they're still making money off it. Well, Ed's dead. Rest in peace, Ed. I hope you're doing well. But Lorraine's still collecting them checks. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Please, if you haven't done so already, please just hit that like button, hit subscribe. It really helps me out. Doesn't cost you a dime, and it'll be good luck for you. That's it, and I will see you on another one.